What's new in filmmaking technology this week? News, reviews, education, insights, opinions, and ideas from the CineD newsroom with Nino and Johnnie. This is Focus Check, the weekly Cinetech podcast.
Hello everybody, I'm Johnnie from CineD and this is Focus Check, episode 31. As you can see, I'm by myself. Nino is simply not here. He is shooting, filming. As you know, we are all working professionals. So this is not a surprise that he is working. One of the things that he's doing, he is also testing the new Sigma Cine autofocus lens, which is really great. And when he's back, I'll hear from him how it performed. And of course, guys, we're going to share it with you, some footage and also impressions in general. But today we're going to do something a little bit different. Since I'm by myself, let's try to have fun. Of course, like every week, but I mean a little bit of music whenever is possible, maybe in between the chapters here. And then we're going to talk about 2 reviews that we just finished and published next to recap from IBC. Yes, IBC is still on the agenda. We are publishing every day 2 to 3 videos, probably until the end of this week. As you know, we don't like to throw everything at once. And then it's like, so much footage and so much information. Yeah, so we are trying to kind of schedule it that every article, every product, every company gets the attention it deserves. So bear with me and let's jump to the first topic. And the first topic is about the RØDECaster video. As you know, that was just announced and we were lucky enough to have a unit here and test it and see how it performs. And I have Felix with me. Felix is... I don't know, how do I say, technician, expert, audio expert?
Hi, I'm Felix. Yeah, I'm doing the podcast, like the podcast producer for Focus Check podcasts.
Great. So, Felix, you actually tested and already have the first look of this RØDECaster video. And let me ask you first, in terms of impression and build quality before we dive into specifications, how do you find this Rode? Is it something nice to hold, to work with, or it feels so-so? What is your impression?
Well, my first impression, maybe as you can see also, we are recording also through the RØDECaster. And yeah, when I had it the first time in my hand, I mean, I know Rode products since a while already. And we also used the RØDECaster Pro 2 previously for our podcast here. But yeah, when I had it like the first time in my hand, I was really impressed because, yeah, it's just maybe to give a bit of a context, it's a video switcher and an audio console in one device. And you would think that this takes a lot of space, but it's quite small. And it has a very nice range of in and outputs on the back. Build quality is good. I think the buttons feel nice, the knobs, everything. They have a nice haptic, so it's from that point, I'm really impressed.
Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. So what Rode tried to do is actually consolidate 2 products into one. It's like one their own product, and one is from the competitor / Black Magic Design.
Yeah, exactly. I also wrote this in the article so that I think it's the easiest to explain it. Basically, you can think of 2 devices packed in one. That means like you have a video switcher, as we all know, the Blackmagic Atom series, the Atom Mini series that we also used previously on the podcast here as a video switcher. Yeah, you have 4 inputs for cameras and yeah, also audio inputs like XLR, combo jack inputs. And exactly, so you have basically an audio interface plus a video switcher in one device. And that's, yeah, I think it's a good idea that Rode made here, yeah.
Of course, I mean, this device will be sold for $1,199 US, but there are some limitations that, in all honesty, I was a little bit surprised when I saw the specifications. Mm-hmm. One of them, for example, is it can do up to a full HD, 30p only, that we know that for broadcasts and events, the minimum is kind of 50. Usually people or companies use 50 to 60p. Do you regard this as a limitation, or you can live with this 1080 30p?
I think what Rode did here, they targeted this product to a certain audience, and I think these are podcasters, streamers, as we are doing it here also. So I think in the professional broadcasting world, this is not a device that will commonly being used, probably, but I think for a lot of web content and also live productions in a small, like maybe streaming directly to YouTube or Twitch or so, for that purposes, I think this is a really great device.
The other limitation, you can't really export XML file, which is a big limitation. Just guys that you know, the way we do this, after recording, we have XML file and then we take it to our editing suite, and then Felix, it's much easier for Felix to edit. And with this device, you don't get such a file. That's a limitation for you?
Yeah, I think that's also one of the biggest limitations, especially because we were used to have this setup with the Blackmagic Atom that provided this DaVinci Resolve project file, and that's super handy. So you can open the project and tweak the edit to your liking, which is a super good feature. And I was also expecting that they maybe come up with something like a XML file that you get, and then you can import it into any NLE that you want. But this feature is not available, and
it's a pity, because this is a real limitation, especially when you're doing, I don't know, podcast on a certain day and you want to go with it out as soon as possible. Hopefully this is something that can be updated or be added later with a firmware update. We will of course talk to Rode just to find out. Last thing about limitations, how about the audio inputs? Do you think, or inputs, outputs, do you think it's a bit limited, or for the audience that it's targeting, it's fine?
I think, there are two combo jack XLR inputs and two preamps, so you can connect two normal XLR microphones. That's nice, but I think, of course, there could be also a third person in the podcast, then you're already limited. I mean, you can connect USB-C or USB microphones just from Rode. That's also something that I found a bit limiting, as maybe you have already a USB microphone. So that's a bit of a limitation. What you also you can connect, for example, another RØDECaster to this USB-C input on the back. You are able to get a lot more inputs, but of course it's then again a multi-device setup.
So just for our setup here, so the device is already, we are capturing the two audio inputs with our microphones, and the music that you guys gonna hear is actually going through Bluetooth, because we were already missing at least one more input here. Yeah, but that's it. I mean, it is what it is, and for the price, it might be handy for many. And don't forget, Rode is coming from the audio side. That means that the preamps and other everything which is related to audio is kind of a high quality. And I think you are also quite kind of impressed with the audio quality.
So Rode, they acquired FX, the company, in 2015, and so they have all the FX effects built in this device. So the preamps are from FX, also the DSP-powered effects like compressor, de-esser, and all these things are from a very well-known company, FX, and I think it sounds great. It's also nice to operate everything. So from the audio quality, it's really very nice to work with. Yeah.
You know, sometimes I think that I sound like a frustrated DJ. Is there an FX there to make me like a proper DJ if I want to? You know, if I want my voice to become deeper and nicer and more relaxing?
Yeah, so they have this voice shaping tools like Aural Exciter, or you can really, I think it's called even bottom, so you can dial this in and give more bottom to your voice. And,
okay, maybe next time, Okay, great. Felix, so before I move to the next subject, anything that you want to add about this RØDECaster video, which is, again, being sold now or can be pre-ordered for $1,199.
Well, to summarize, it's I think a interesting decision from Rode, and makes absolutely sense to me to combine stuff like video and audio in one device. So I think it's a
Good decision.
Good decision, yeah.
Great. Okay, so before we move on, let's hear maybe a short or some audio track. The music today is from Epidemic Sound. We use some of their music for our reviews, and I leave you guys with something, or a track that I kind of like. So a few seconds of this.
Welcome to 1 Minute Tips by FUJIFILM and CineD. Have you ever seen those gray cards that people hold up in front of camera? That shade is called middle gray or 18% gray. It's called middle because visually it appears as the midpoint between white and black, though it only reflects 18% of light, hence the two names. It was said to have been initially defined by Ansel Adams in his zone system, and has been adopted as a standard for median, proper exposure. When you hold up that card and frame, it not only gives the colorist an exposure reference, but pointing a light meter at it will also give you aperture, shutter, ISO values to expose your scene down the middle. As with all things technical in a creative field, you should use it as a reference and less as a hard rule. Though exposing in the middle will generally give you more dynamic range out of your sensor and a more natural reproduction of middle values like skin tones, sometimes you might need to expose darker for added dramatic effect, or perhaps overexpose to see more into the shadows. Nevertheless, it is a good tool to carry for reference, especially if you expect to be doing some comprehensive post-work with color or VFX. Check back for more exposure talk here on 1 Minute Tips. Until next time.
Good. So not that you think that I'm just using the music for relaxation. I'm also checking here for the next topic, which is SIRUI, the company that we know very well from doing on-the-budget lenses, anamorphic and also spherical lenses next to tripod and monopods. They are, recently they are trying to enter the lighting market with different lights. Some of those lights are actually quite nice, I have to say. And their latest thing is a projector. And just that we kind of align what is a projector. Well, you know, maybe you see sometimes in the background of some movies or creators making some shapes in different, from leaves to windows to wings or whatever you want. So those, let's say, shaping the light, you shape the light with those type of projectors. And SIRUI just came up with a projector like this. And the main selling point here that this one has like a zoom range from 18 to 36 degrees. And that means that you can change the beam, the circle itself, from being either very targeted or just open a little bit. And this is not so easy to manufacture something like this. And of course, we were hoping and actually saw that they use some of their expertise in optics in order to create something like this. And when you have the projector zoom lens, you simply add it or attach it to a COB light. So in case that you've been wondering what is COB lights, so COB is a chip on board, and maybe you've seen it with so many modern lights. You simply have this kind of a yellowish piece of a square thing. This is the LED light, so this is the chip on board, and that allows also a very strong beam. So with this projector lens, you get an accessory, you get a very nice bag, like a case actually, a plastic, a very sturdy one, and also a set of gobos. And a gobo thing is like a little modifier that you can simply slide into the lens itself, into the projector lens, and then get different shapes. So you get a few of those, and of course, different colors and so on. Graham, our colleague, got it to check and do the review, and came up with some very interesting conclusions. So first of all, just that you know, anytime that you are dealing with any type of a projector lens, please use gloves. Those things can get really, really hot. And even if you think that LED light is not generating heat, it does, and it generates a lot of heat. So safety first, always use those any type of gloves in order to deal with those projector lens things. And what he came up with, first of all, that you need to reduce the heat somehow. Otherwise, it generates a lot of heat anyway. So what SIRUI did, they made an external device, which is a vent. This is being kind of attached to the bottom side of the projector, and that can dispense some of the heat. The thing is that it looks a little bit of an kind of aftermath design, which is it's a bit surprising, because everybody, when you design something like this, you should know that it generates a lot of heat. So it is working, but just make sure that it's working properly and that it's charged, because if it's not charged, it's a USB connector, it has a built-in battery. If somehow you run out of the battery, well, then the device can run hot. Other thing is to remember that there is a limit of how strong the light can be, or the fixture that the projector lens can be attached to. So apparently it's up to 200 watts. Otherwise, again, it generates too much heat and you cannot use it. So Graham, our colleague, was impressed all in all with the kit, with the build quality. And for a limited time, SIRUI is usually doing their stuff in Kickstarter, in Indiegogo. This will be sold in Kickstarter for $399 instead of $499. This is for early birds, those that will be first to kind of get it. And so far, it seems like that the Kickstarter campaign is running rather well. They have like 63 backers so far. There are still 27 days to go. So if you think that you need this type of device to shape light, depends on what you do, this is maybe something for you to consider. Good. Let's move to our next subject. But before, let's hear another music track. And this time, again from Epidemic Sound. Okay, so back to IBC, and of course we can talk about products, but I want to highlight two conversations that I had during the show. Sometimes products are always nice to cover, they come and they go, but at the end it's really about the people and also the way of thinking. And I met with Jeromy Young from Atomos, and of course we talked about different stuff. They have the new Ninja 4 4K, which is now upgraded. Actually, it was originally for only full HD, but now 4K. But also, I was interested to know from Jeromy a little bit about the future of our industry, the way he sees this next to the future of his company. Because if you remember, Atomos started with monitors, and then those monitors became recording monitors. And I don't know how many years ago they started. I can't really remember, but the thing is that the camera industry caught up with recording internally in a very high quality. Those days you can record ProRes RAW, and so on into the camera. And then, of course, there is a valid question: why do we need an external recorder if the camera can record internally in such a high quality? And I have to say, Jeromy was very open in this discussion, which I really appreciate. And it was quite interesting to hear from him that as far as he's concerned, what the cameras are doing now, that's what the Ninja did, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago in terms of recording quality. So in general, what Atomos will always try to do, and this is the philosophy of the company, is kind of preserve a certain gap, meaning they will concentrate on high quality, let's say up to 4K, but this time trying to record externally in high frame rate. So Jeromy is aiming in the near future, and of course that was not defined because it always takes two for tango. He needs to work together with the camera manufacturers in order to implement some of those features. Yeah, so he's aiming to do, let's say, full HD in 920 frames per second, or let's say 4K in 460 frames per second, and so on. So this is where the company is heading to. I mean, the idea is to always keep a gap, and obviously cameras cannot record in such a high frame internally. So that's where Atomos is heading to. And in terms of cameras, we also kind of discussed the current quality, and we agreed, as you remember, we talked about this before in previous episodes, that currently the cameras are really, there are hardly any bad cameras when it comes to mirrorless cameras, for example, or on the budget cinema cameras. All of those cameras can record very high quality videos. The thing is that the differences are very minimal, yeah, and the silicon inside those cameras really hasn't changed much in the last few years. So when talking to Jeromy, he's kind of hinted that the next big step will be probably around 2025. And since he's very much involved working together with the camera manufacturers, especially the Japanese camera manufacturers, I'm very curious to know what's coming up. And of course, we will catch up on future developments. But this is just a glimpse to the future, saying that maybe 2025 will be the year that we will finally see some types of different sensors coming into the market, and that might allow greater dynamic range or other possibilities that were not so possible up until now. Good. So I really please check the video. It's a very friendly video. And also, of course, we discussed the product itself, the Ninja Phone 4K, which the name is a bit misleading. Unfortunately, sometimes the marketing material or the marketing divisions in companies are kind of rushing with the name out. This device is not only for iPhone or for phone. This is also for tablets and so on. So it should be actually Ninja 4 phone and not Ninja Phone. Yeah, it's a bit it's a pity, because I think many of us don't really understand what the device really does. And at the end, it gives a Ninja recording capabilities just without the screen, because it's relying on the screen of any mobile phone, because those are really high quality. Good. Moving on to another conversation that I did during the show. Actually, it's a very interesting one. That was with Stosh from FUJIFILM, and we talked about zoom versus prime lenses in filmmaking. And we know, on one hand, FUJIFILM or Fujinon are making some photo fixed focal length or prime lenses, and of course they're also making many zoom lenses. The Duvo is the latest in their batch for high-end filming. the idea is to bring, let's say, cinema quality or working with large sensor on zoom lenses. And it was interesting because Stosh is a very knowledgeable guy, and he's a very pleasant guy to talk to. And I really want to know, because they have this type of zoom lenses, if today he will kind of recommend zoom lenses, but tomorrow if Fujifilm will come with, let's say, a set of prime cine lenses, suddenly he will tell us how good those are. But no, he was actually very open and said, of course, I mean, he loves prime zoom lenses next to, prime lenses next to zoom lenses. And the idea is, or the bottom line of this conversation, that different jobs require different types of lenses. Me personally, when I'm doing documentary work, I really prefer zoom lenses. On today's fast-paced productions, and you have to be a bit more flexible. Zoom lenses might be a little bit more appropriate, at least for me. And of course, those zoom lenses are not always very fast, but I'm relying on the low light capabilities of the new modern cameras. Those can really shoot in high ISO and compensate somehow on what you don't have on the lens side. So head on to our conversation. It's a very friendly one. I think you might hear some opinions, what is good. And of course, I'm very curious to hear about you guys. Do you work with zoom lenses, or do you work with prime lenses? Just leave a comment below. And yeah, always nice to hear you guys. Good. And let's move to the next topic. And this is discussing a little bit about products from IBC, those that we did not cover last time. But before, just a short piece of music. It's just another track while I'm searching for the next topic that I want to talk about, still from Epidemic Sound. Okay, so back to IBC. First of all, just a small anecdote, guys. You know, it's like every time after IBC is done and finished, we get a very nice email from whoever is organizing IBC asking our opinion, how it was, how we did. It's a generic thing. Yeah. The thing is, I just recovered from COVID, and next to me, so many people that have been at IBC got COVID. So unfortunately, in this questionnaire, there is no question, did you get COVID? So what I want to say is that it's still here, unfortunately, and for next time on any exhibition, maybe a bit less hugging, although it's really, really great to see people. But it's really amazing. Of course, it feels like a flu, but then there's one day that you're completely dead, and then you just move on. Life is too short. Anyway, so that's the small anecdote about IBC. And I want to talk about 3 products. We've seen so many, but 3 products that we haven't talked about last time, and now we have the videos online. One is from Freewell, and this is a magnetic SSD storage solution for iPhone and other devices. And it's quite interesting because there are so many solutions out there. It's really becoming like, you know, everybody and their mothers are making something for the iPhone. I think what I really liked about the Freewell magnetic solution is that it's a complete one, yeah. And this is still a prototype. What you might look at the video, and it doesn't even has a name yet. It's like almost ready. But the good thing is that it's very versatile and very flexible. The first thing is, in order to keep the cost down, it doesn't have a built-in M.2 SSD. So either you can purchase it from the company, but you can use any one that you like. And those M.2 SSD devices are coming in different lengths. So here you can really attach any of the 3 recommended lengths, and this is really great. So it's also a matter of pricing, and of course you can choose different capacity. That's one thing. And then of course it's magnetic, so it will you can attach it to the back of your iPhone. But just to remind again, this is not for iPhone only. Any device, including cameras, that can output through a USB-C the recording data can be used here. But in terms of a solution, there is also a hand grip for this kind of a rig style thing, and there is like a trigger, Bluetooth trigger next to. You can really change vertical or horizontal or whatever you're shooting, if it's for social media or proper video. And of course, other devices from Freewell, they are very well known for their little optics. The one that they do for mobile phones also can be used. So I caught up with Ari from Freewell, very friendly person, very straightforward talk. And I think that if you're looking for a solution, I think it will be ready by the end of this year. That might be something that you can consider. It starts in like $100, which is only for the hub itself. And then it goes all the way up to $200, which is still very much manageable. And again, this is without an SSD. The only thing is, for me personally, we are starting very small and very modest with an iPhone, let's say, that can now record internally and externally in a very high resolution. But then we are literally making the iPhone much bigger for like extra usability. So this is that's the question. Maybe then it makes sense to move to a mirrorless camera. I'll leave you guys to decide what is more usable here. But you take a small thing, you make it bigger, and then it's already in a different form factor. And I'm not so sure that this is, maybe it's a bit defeating the purpose of the whole iPhone thing. Good. And the next thing that I would like to talk about is a new or 2 monitors from SWIT. SWIT is a Chinese company making a lot of accessories for the cinema market. You can find batteries and chargers and different high quality monitors and lights and so on. So they're very friendly people behind the company, and they're as always looking for new fields to grow up a little bit. And what they are coming up with is 2 types of field monitors. One is 15-inch and the other one is 21-inch. K15 and K21. Those are not in the market yet. They will be in the market soon. But the main thing here is, because they do a lot of stuff for studios, they also tried to go outdoor with those monitors. And they were, they were literally tackling 3 things here in order to keep the price really manageable. One is the brightness of the monitors. So obviously those monitors are rather bright, so you can see them in daylight. The other thing is, which I find interesting, they decided to use LCD screens instead of OLED. This is also in order to keep the price manageable. And the last thing, they claim that they made a big research, and the majority of people who are working on many productions are still doing HD and not 4K. So those monitors they're good up to full HD resolution, not 4K. And all of this in order to keep the price of the monitors manageable. The other thing is to mention here that they have a completely new operating system for that monitor. The menu structure is different. This is also just to make life easier if you are working outdoor. So the 15-inch monitor will be sold for $1,199, and the 21.5-inch monitor will be sold for $1,499. I think those prices are really fair. They are competitive. So if you are working on, let's say, still in a HD environment, and normal for production monitors, you have a variety of inputs and outputs, and of course, you have an integrated V-mount battery plate and so on. So it's really a complete set, just in case that you ask yourself why I should not use just a normal monitor or computer monitor. No, this is a real production monitor. Okay, last piece of music before we move to the last topic. Let me just see quickly, and let's listen to this one. Okay, and the last product that I want to talk about is actually from Laowa. Personally, I have a lot of respect for this company. They are really thinking sometimes out of the box. And as you might know, the company is, the location of the company is Hong Kong. And Mr. Lee, the owner behind it, is a very motivated person. He has been working in Japan for years. He also speaks very well Japanese. He was designing lenses for other leading companies in our industry until he probably said, enough, I want to work for myself. And then he opened the company. And he has a very dedicated team behind him. And this time, they are coming up. I mean, they showed 3 different products at IBC. We covered some of them, like anamorphic LF lenses, which is really great, and more prime lenses. But what I want to mention this time is the Ultima. And the Ultima is an 8K zoom lens. Yeah, it goes from 12 to 120 millimeter. That's the focal length. It's a T4 or constant T4 lens, and it's a super 35 lens. And I think what it shows when you produce such a lens, that the company is really trying to enter a different market. Yeah, we know them from mostly for the anamorphic lenses, the nano anamorphic lenses. We know them from the prime lenses and so on. And they don't really make zoom lenses, or let's say small zoom lenses. And this one, again, it's the first 8K resolution lens, and it goes from 12 to 120, which is obviously a great range, especially if you are doing ENG stuff. Yeah. So they are trying to compete with Fujinon and other companies who are doing now, traditionally doing zoom lenses for broadcast or documentary work and such. Now, this lens is not cheap by any means. It's like $15,000. So it's obviously not a really cheap lens, but it really depends where you're coming from. I mean, if you are a single or independent user, maybe it's a bit too much. But if you're a rental house, or if you're a production company or a broadcaster, maybe this is something to consider. In order to complete this package, they also cooperating with MOFCOM. This is another Chinese company. And this will allow an attachment of an external box with a zoom trigger. So the whole operation is a bit easier because, you know, broadcast cameras always have this kind of electronic connectors. So this is the bridge between the manual lens to the camera itself. Don't forget, focusing wise, it will be only manual focus. But yeah, I think at least when you can control the zoom, this is already a very good option. That's it, guys. This concludes this week's episode. A bit shorter than normal, but I hope that you find it interesting and I hope you like the music. Always wanted to be DJ, maybe in my next life, who knows. Okay, so of course you can find our Focus Check episodes in Spotify and all of those Apple Podcasts and so on. Give us thumbs up, like us, like what we do. There's a lot of time invested in the backhand, as you can imagine. Continue to visit us and continue to support us. Okay, thank you very much. This is for this week and see you next time. Thank you, guys.